So welcome to the Lovefly podcast. And today we are joined by Cazz Auz from Australia. Woo. Welcome.
Yay. Thank you.
So Cazz, tell us a little bit about yourself. So how you found us, and just a little bit about give us a mini story of your story.
Yeah, so I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and I was preparing to go to Japan. But I've developed a fear of flying over the last, I guess, 10 years or so.
Mm.
And I thought, what can I do about this? Because yeah, I thought there must be some help out there. So I started Googling and looking on Facebook. And the first thing that I found was the Lovefly podcast that was recommended. So I went onto that and I started pretty much just looking through the titles and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what things resonated with me and then just adding them all and binging them pretty much. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What was the pull towards Japan about then? Yeah, because I mean I know it's
Well,
difficult to get anywhere
yeah.
from where you are, but why Japan?
Japan. It actually wasn't on our list of sort of top places to go originally, but we really wanted to go to Disneyland as a family.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking at America, but a friend had just been there and she was telling us how expensive it was and how far it was. And I just thought, oh, I've got this fear of flying as well. And it's just that little bit further. And when I found out there was a Disneyland in Japan, I thought, you know what, maybe that's a good place to go. There's lots of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
traveling to Japan at the moment. The
yeah.
dollar's really good there. Yeah, so that was the main reason that we booked the trip actually was for Disneyland.
Ah, okay. Well, that's a good enough reason as any.
Yeah, I think so.
So tell us about the sort of genesis, the beginning of your fear, how it started and how it showed up for you.
Sure. So it was about, I think, 2014 when my eldest son was 1 year old and we decided to take a flight to Sydney and go on a holiday there. And I'd flown my entire life. I was very fortunate to go lots of holidays with my family and loved traveling. I studied travel. I was going to become a travel agent at one stage. So never ever had an issue with
Mm,
planes or anything at all. Just
yeah,
loved it.
yeah.
But it was this particular flight into Sydney, and on the descent, there was a storm, and the plane just started going very, very quickly. And to me, it seemed like we were kind of descending to our doom, pretty much.
Mm.
There was
Positive,
nothing
nice.
said that I can remember. Yeah, there wasn't anything said that I
Descending
can
to our doom,
remember.
lovely. Yeah, nice.
Yes, yep. It just felt like it was going very, very quick,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of turbulence. And I just thought, this is awful. I'm not enjoying
Mm.
this at all. And it is the last flight that I'm ever going to go on.
So let me just check then. So prior to your 1 year old, and before that, you have absolutely no anxiety whatsoever with flying. But before
No,
this
nothing,
incident, nothing, and
nothing.
no anxiety in other areas of your life. So that's a bit of a personal
Yes,
question.
no. Well, I had always been a bit of an anxious person, um, but never with flying.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that must have been really annoying, particularly something
Yeah.
you're thinking about doing as a job. Then all of a sudden you've got
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Exactly. And I thought, how are we going to fly home? I'm not getting on a plane again. And I'm not sure how I did. I can't actually remember the flight home, but
Mm.
obviously got on it and got on with it. But yeah,
So,
after that, I didn't
so
take too many flights.
mm, right, okay. So I like these sort of stories because I find it interesting to sort of think, okay, what made you think, what were the factors that made you think, oh, that's it, I don't want to fly again. It's horrible.
Mhm.
So you said there was a storm, but as you know, you go sort of around storms and stuff, but it still can be a bit rock and roll in the aircraft. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming then that prior to that, you'd never had sort of turbulence or that sort of movement before.
I'd definitely been on planes with turbulence, but I'd never been particularly worried about it. I
Mm,
wonder if it was, I'd never had children before. So I
yeah,
think that was definitely something, I guess, an added element that, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
I've got a child now to protect. And I think that was definitely a lot to do with it.
yeah. I think you're right. It seems to be quite a common trigger that a lot of people, when they become parents, they suddenly have this extra weight of responsibility. And having worn that T-shirt myself, you do feel, it changes your perspective on things, doesn't it? And so it's understandable. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so you felt like it was descending into doom. Yeah. Sorry, it's just such a great phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
We descended into.
But that's
Yeah.
exactly what I felt. It was just like, that was where my mind went. I was just like, this is it. Yep.
Yeah.
I remember the cabin being just deathly quiet and there was no announcements. And I just thought, oh, okay. Yep.
So your take on that, because there was no announcements and it was deathly quiet, that was a kind of a oh crap moment.
Yeah.
Because you could argue that the pilots didn't say anything because there was nothing to say. I mean, it is quite nice when it's a bit bumpy. But if people do speak, we do encourage that. But because pilots know it's not a problem, they often don't think, like that way. Not all of them, but some just think, oh, it's fine. I know it's fine. But you would have liked something at that point, just some sort of perhaps some.
Personally, I feel like that would have made a real difference to me. I think if someone got on and say, just letting you know, we're going a little bit quicker because we just want to get in before, because the airport did shut down. I think our plane was the last one in, so it must have got quite sort of choppy out there. For me, that was a big thing. I think if there was some communication, I wouldn't have been as panicked. But now, after listening to a lot of the podcasts and things, I know there are reasons sometimes that they don't say things, or there's a lot of hindsight now. But yeah, at the time, with no sort of information, that was what I was feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's understandable, isn't it? In the absence of information, and also you've got this newly protective role as well. You can understand how these things compound and start to create fear. Yeah. So presumably, wherever that was you were going, you had to come back from.
Yeah.
How did you manage that?
I don't know. I actually have zero memory of it. So it must have been fine. I must have just had a flight with no turbulence, or I don't know. I have no memory of that. Yeah.
So you got that.
I got on the plane and.
Yeah. Which is you still did it. So what happened after that then? In terms of your flying.
So after that, we went to Queensland a few times, which isn't too far from Melbourne. It's sort of about, in Australia terms, it's not too far. It's about 2 hours flight. So we did a few family holidays there on and off, and I wasn't too bad. I didn't love it, but I was okay. And we only probably went maybe, I think, 2 times max. But I just thought, I've got no intention of going overseas, even though I'd love to. It's not worth it for me. Like the anxiety that I'd have over a longer flight isn't worth it. So I kind of didn't travel overseas for a long time.
And so what was the impact upon you and your family and stuff with your travel fear of flying?
I don't think the family was directly impacted, but myself, I kind of was really disappointed because I thought, I love travel so much and I would love to be probably planning a family trip sooner rather than later to go overseas, and that was really holding me back. And even this Japan trip we were thinking of, I kind of was like, oh, maybe we don't really need to go. Yeah.
So there's often like a change in behavior, like that, sometimes people notice it, some people don't. But your choices start to change because you kind of feel like, I can't do that because blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So do you think the fear got worse after that or just stayed the same sort of?
I think it probably ramped up a bit, like once I'd actually booked Japan and I'd kind of committed to it, and then the reality set in that, we're actually going to do this.
Okay, so let's just rewind a bit because I missed a little bit there. So the first flight back where you had this incident when your son was 1, how long ago again was that? Just to remind me.
So that would have been 2014.
Right. Okay. So we're talking about 10, 11 years ago. And then,
Yeah.
then you had a history of, you did do some flights, but minimal. I'm getting the sense of.
Yeah, I think we only had 2 or 3 flights in. So that was,
Right.
and just sort of 2-hour flights.
Okay. So, and then once this fear had started, what was it like before you did any trips? You know, before you did any flights, did you have any sort of like pre-anxiety, or did you have? Yeah. So I'm trying to get a sense of how bad it was for you, I guess, without poking the wound.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about it too much. I guess with a young family, we didn't particularly want to fly that much when they were younger, because it just seemed like too much work. But yeah, as they've gotten a bit older now, they're sort of 12, 9, and 3 now. So I'm like, you know what, I want to start, exploring and going further afield and doing more trips and things with them. Mm.
So so talk us through then on the flight when you do those little flights. What are you like? You know, like before you kind of got yourself
Mhm.
to some degree over it, if that's the right phrase. Uh,
Mhm.
what were you like to fly with? What was your process?
So, like, I think I'd kind of, be up the night before, just thinking about it, not sleeping very much. Um, yeah, just constantly thinking, what if, um, and then, yeah, I guess with kids, one good thing is they're a good distraction. So you would constantly be focused on them because you had to be. So that probably helped me somewhat, um, kind of get out of my head a little bit. And then on the flight, I always would have a glass of champagne as soon as I could, just to sort of settle the nerves a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't
It
know, I
works.
think I was thinking it did for me, yeah, it
Has to be
did.
champagne though, not prosecco.
Yeah, no, just anything, but just, one glass just to kind of just settle me a little bit. And then I was also seeing a psychologist at that stage, and she gave me a mindfulness tape, like sort of a hypnosis recording.
All right. Yeah.
So I was listening to those on takeoff as well, which kind of, kind of just got me through the initial
Yeah.
anxiety. And once I was up, I was sort of okay then for most of it. Yeah.
Okay. And so to then talk us through, because people quite like to hear the motivation. So we know it's about Japan, Disney, and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
But
Mhm. Mhm.
what was the sort of the turning point from like I'm avoiding this stuff, I'm only doing the minimum. What was the thing that there was a day or something that happened that made you, do you know what, I'm going to do something about this? What was that?
Yeah. I think I turned 40 last year, and I've always been
Congratulations.
quite a yeah, thank you. I've always been quite a fearful person of like new things, new challenges. And I think that was almost kind of a bit of a reflective time that I thought, you know what? I'm sick of being scared all the time of things and not
Oh, I love
trying.
that.
Yeah. And having the kids now as well, you're constantly saying to your children, just give it a go. And um, my el- my eldest particularly, I can see is sort of me as a child and often is quite hesitant to try new things. And I almost want to shake him and say, you've got these opportunities, just go for it. And because I so see myself in him, and I guess, you want to lead by example, don't
Yeah.
you? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sick of being scared. Like, let's just do this, throw yourself into stuff, and almost sort of start a new chapter of doing things that I've always been too scared to do, and just push through and just get on with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much. I think
So,
that really was the catalyst. Yeah.
yeah, that's a great one, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sort of, for some people, that's a midlife point, isn't it? 40.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And you
And
think,
I never really thought of it too much. I remember my husband was quite hesitant when he turned 40, and I was like, oh, it's only a number, and I don't know what the big deal is. And then all of a sudden I turned 40, and it was this weird point that I was like, oh,
it
hang
is a
on,
big deal.
a bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of like freaked out a little bit,
Yeah.
which I wasn't expecting. So, but it was kind of almost a nice little shake up, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Japan Disney thing was the attraction. Okay. So talk us through what your preparation was and how long it took you to gear yourself up for the flight.
So it was actually booked quite close to when we left. I think I only started planning it about 3 months out. I'm not usually a very spontaneous person, but there was a lot of people booking holidays and they were going to America and Japan and all these places. And I thought, I'm sick of waiting around and, waiting for this fear to go or for me to sort of, get over it. And I'm like, I want to do this. Like, why can't I? And I thought, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. So I'm like, yep, we're doing it. So booked everything. And then it was sort of like, okay, I'm really scared about this though. So what am I going to do about that? And yeah, as I said, that's when I started sort of Googling and looking at Facebook, and this Lovefly group came up, and there was the podcast, and then there was also the Facebook group as well, which I joined as well.
So, without I'm not trying to fish for, but what made you think they look all right? Them not, because there's lots of ways that you could get help. Particularly in Australia, you've got a Qantas as well. They offer their own things. And what made you trust these POMs?
Yeah, I think it was the first thing
I had to get I'm desperate to say it.
Yeah. And I think it was just the first thing. It was just lucky enough. It was the first thing I saw. And
now I feel in this.
Downloaded your podcast and sort of started listening to it, and straight away, I liked, the way you came across, the humor, the honesty, how you did interviews with pilots and people that had actually been through the same sort of thing. And, and there was a lot in it for me when I kind of looked through the different things. I had an issue sort of with claustrophobia and turbulence, and I could kind of go down the list and download the different things that particularly resonated with me. And when I listened to them, I always came away feeling just a little bit better, even if it was just one little thing that I heard. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. That makes me feel better about that.
Yeah, that's nice to know. So what sort of time span are we talking across? And the killer question, which we'll come on to in a minute, it's like, how did you do a daily thing? Was it a weekly thing? So because what people like to do when they hear someone that's further on than they are is they think, they might hear a process. They think, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
So what's yours?
So I would say we travelled in June. So I think it was probably 2 months, I think.
Okay, so June was your flight. So 2 months before, right? Okay.
I think it was probably 2 months before. Downloaded all the podcasts, joined the Facebook group, and then I would probably listen to about one podcast a day.
And how did you do that? Where were you doing that?
Yeah, in the car.
Right.
So in the car, driving the kids to school. Dropping the kids off when my 3-year-old was in the back, sort of not listening. I didn't want the kids to know about the fear of flying.
Yes.
That, Mum was listening to, but and I would, probably 1 to 2 days I'd do a podcast, and then just reading through posts on the group as well of people that were sort of nervous to take flights, and then just reading about all the support. Like, there was so much support on that group, which I just found amazing. Yeah.
I mean, they are amazing. To be honest, some of us don't do that much in the group. I mean, I monitor it, but I don't. There's just too much going on, which is. But we're always there. But I think it's because the group is just fantastic in supporting each other, isn't it? The people on the communities. They're just. I'm always gobsmacked. Like, literally, someone posts and there's like, I look and there's 11 comments already. Like, wow, people really care about each other, and it's restores your faith in human nature. I think a bit.
It does. I've never seen an unhelpful comment. There's always someone that sort of has your back on there. And I kind of looked at it and I thought, oh, wow, like, even when I do go to take the flight, there'll be people on the ground kind of, almost barracking for me. And, I could say I'm scared, and there'll be someone there to say it's okay, you can do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, we get the odd idiot come on, but we try to get rid of them as soon as possible. Most of the
Yes.
people on
Yeah.
there are really positive and and want to help each other. Because you need someone to.
Nice.
Because when it first happened, because there were people saying, please track me," and we were like, "Oh, that's not good. That's like that's an unhelpful ritual." And then, but
Yes.
we've completely done whichever way it is 180 on that, because it's like,
Mhm.
well, if that's what, because people who are very intelligent have said to me, well, it's just helpful. Think someone's sort of kind of
Mhm.
watching you, like it's got you,
Yeah. Yep.
and so
Yep.
yeah. So we encourage it. And say, yeah, fine, track away, because it's a confirmation,
Yeah.
isn't it? That they landed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, what about, so in terms of episodes, do you remember which ones you've downloaded? Because people quite like a little
Oh,
shortcut, or if there's particular speakers that you found helpful.
I think, was it Mel? I think there was one particular one, sort of listened to. I think it was, "Oh dear, I've got a flight tomorrow."
Oh yeah, so
One of those
Eater.
ones.
Oh crap, I'm flying tomorrow. That one, episode
Yeah. Yeah.
130. Yeah,
Yep, that one. And there was some, I think there's a lady called Mel that I found quite helpful.
Melissa, maybe.
Melissa. Yep,
Yeah.
Melissa. And just pretty much any of the ones that had the word turbulent in them, I downloaded. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I haven't written down the exact episode
Right. So you just
numbers, but
searched on
I listened to
turbulence.
quite a few.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it was helpful for me because there was a lot of them, and I just sort of looked at the titles and thought, what are the things that I think I would be most worried about? So for me, it was turbulence and a little bit of claustrophobia. So they were the main ones.
So if
A
you
lot of that, I think.
okay, so you've done a 2-month plan, like a podcast nearly every day, uh,
Mhm.
and been in the Facebook group. Did you do anything else that you did that as part of your process?
Um, I don't think so. I think it was literally just that. Um, yeah, and just kind of really, when I listen to the podcast, just really taking the time to think of things and then try to remind myself of those things later. There was, I remember something particular I listened to about claustrophobia, and someone mentioned about, think of, when you're in a car and how much room you've got in the car, and there's not actually that much room. And so then, I kind of was mindful of that. And when I was in my car, I did actually take the time to look around and think, oh, yeah, you're right. There's not actually that much room, and I feel okay here. Um, yeah. So just kind of trying to, yeah, really remember things that I'd listened to and, yeah, kind of bring them into real life, I guess.
Yeah, that's a nice link back actually, because it's a nice reminder of some of those things. Because people say, yeah, but it's different because in the car, but it's only a different because telling yourself a different story about it. But it's the space is probably the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you're on a motorway traveling along, you can't get out. You're in that
Yep.
same sort. So I think it's just an interesting perspective, isn't it? So,
Mm-hmm.
so that actually made me think, if you had to sort of take some of these bits that have stayed with you, if you're
Mm-hmm.
from all of these podcasts you've listened to, so the car one, that's a nice one. Is there anything else that's been useful for you?
There might have been another one about, same with the car, just like the bumps on the road. It's the same in a plane. You're just sort of going over the bumps on the road, but it's in the air. Just kind of normalizing it a bit more. And something that's kind of, yeah, when you are in a car, it's quite tangible. You can think about that. And when I was driving, I started to purposely notice bumps when I was driving before I went, and thought, okay, this is what it's going to feel like on the plane when we do get some turbulence.
Well,
It's going to feel exactly like this, and it's going to be fine. And are you worried about it driving now? No, not at all. Like, how ridiculous? Of course not. But this is exactly what you're going to think when you're on the plane. So when you're on the plane, just try and remember and sort of swap it back the other way. So I was kind of giving myself some self-talk, I guess, and thinking, remember this moment when you do get on the plane. Yeah.
I love that. I love the fact I have this image of you like deliberately looking for bumps in the road. Oh, there's one.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
come to England, we've got plenty.
yeah. Oh gosh, so we. Yeah.
Oh, I really like that. So you've got this sort of link to the space in the car, and you've also got the
Mhm.
reminder of the bumps. I remember one of the
Mhm.
podcast guests, well, one of the recent ones, it made me laugh. He said, "You keep talking about imagine going down the cobbled streets. So I don't have any cobbled streets near me. I don't know what you're talking about." And I thought, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
quite an England an old country
it is.
perspective,
Yeah,
isn't it? Like cobbled streets,
yeah.
like everyone's got them.
No, we've got plenty of potholes here though.
Yeah, we've
So
got some
many
of those.
potholes. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. What? Anything else that you used or can remember that was helpful for you?
yeah. I think a lot of it was just information as well, like what actual turbulence is. So I hadn't really thought too much of what it was, and just listening to the pilots particularly go into depth about, what it is, and it's not that big a deal, and it's pretty much a non-event for them, which made me feel better. Um, yeah, just how sort of mundane a lot of things were. That made me
Yeah.
feel better.
Yeah.
Just yeah, thinking about it that way.
Yeah, that's good. And and when you think, if you were to describe turbulence to like if one of your kids said, "I don't like turbulence," how would you
Mhm.
describe it to them for them to still reassured?
Yeah, I think because my son actually came to me a few nights before we were due to travel, and he said, "Mum, I'm getting really, anxious about the flight." And I'm like, "Oh, why?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm scared it's gonna crash and all." I was like, "Oh, no, like, it's totally safe." And it was good because in my head I was kind of thinking, "Oh, yeah, I'm worried about it too." But of course, you're not going to say that. So I was kind of spitting out all the things that I'd heard in the podcast and the Lovefly group and telling him that and coming out of my mouth. I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like good, information. That's good advice that I'm giving." But, it was just trying to believe it myself. So
Yeah.
I think I said to him, it was the same, like, it's just like a bumpy road and it's just air and you're just going over some bumps and yeah, it's fine. It's just like a ride or like a roller coaster, you like rides and it's just, pretend you're on a ride. You're like, wee, and you just, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, nothing.
Although
So
it's a
fun.
bit more
Yeah.
boring than a roller coaster, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's really interesting. Anything else?
Mm.
I'm just trying to. There's other tips that you think, other things you've said,
Yeah,
or
yeah, it was I printed out all Peter's notes, the flight checklist,
yeah,
and that was super helpful. Really, really helpful. Just I think both taking your mind off like getting out of your head because I was sort of reading through the notes and I read through them before I went on my flight and also when I took the flight. So that was super helpful. Just, this noise means this and oh, this
yeah,
is happening. That's
yeah.
good. And yeah, that was really, really helpful.
Hmm. Yeah, the flight checklist was such a gift. I was working with Peter yesterday. We were doing a face-to-face
Mhm.
course at Gap, and Peter always comes along. He's been
Yep.
coming along for years, and when he gave us this checklist, it took him 2 years to get it right, and he
Oh,
just
wow.
did it,
Yeah.
and it's just a gift to the community, and I think and it's just lovely to hear, So he'll be pleased when he listens to
Mm.
this podcast. He'll think, oh, it's made it to Australia, and
Yeah.
it's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think as well, it was good because it got me out of my head. It explained things, which was, it was informative because it's things that I didn't know and very interesting. I never thought to really look that much into
mm.
aviation or anything. So you're sort of learning something, but it is also putting your mind at ease as well because there is a reason for certain sounds and feelings and yeah, just really, really interesting. Even for someone that doesn't have a fear of flying, I think it's just
Yeah,
interesting to know the process that the plane goes through.
yeah, definitely. I think so. Yeah,
Mm.
and you don't really notice it. You're not bothered by flying. You just it takes off, it does stuff. But even people who are not
Mm.
scared of flying will sometimes say things which you think, well, that's not true.
Yeah.
So that's a fear of flying waiting to happen. If that's your opinion, it's
Yeah.
structured, you know what I mean? I'll only fly with
Yeah.
this airline because dot dot dot. And you think,
Mhm.
well, so that's good. There's something else I wanted to ask you. Then my brain's just gone. What was I going to ask you, Cazz? So tell me some other things that you've got, some other bits of wisdom that you take with you now. I remember my question now as well, by the way.
Yeah, so I think my main things were just, the podcast was super helpful, following other people in the group, seeing if people had similar questions and what everyone's advice was. And then particularly listening to the pilot, like, you don't normally get to hear from pilots. You might hear them say, the weather's this or have a nice flight, but they don't talk too much during the flight normally. So just getting a real idea of what they do on a day-to-day was really helpful.
Yeah.
And then, just knowing that, there's so many flights taking off and landing every day and people are perfectly fine. And it's sort of a non-event and the flight attendant, it's just a job for them. I kind of really like that everything's sort of played down. And if I play it down in my head, like I'm making it out to be this real big event and this really scary thing, but it's actually not. I found that really helpful, just sort of, almost saying to myself, get a grip, like it's just a normal job and it's just a plane and it's just, just sort of bringing it back that it's not this big scary thing that I'm making it out to be. It's just my brain going into overdrive and, Yeah,
that's good. So I remember my question. So actually, I haven't actually asked you, how was the flight? So you said it was in June.
Yeah.
What went well? Any bits that you're still a bit unsure about?
Yeah. So when I got on there, I think, as I said before, with kids, they're quite a good distraction, and that was the case as well. We kind of get through all the security and everything, worried about all the kids and getting them in order. So I wasn't thinking too much about things at that stage. But when you sit down and buckle in and kind of looked around and like, this is it, and thinking, I don't know, there's a voice saying, remember you've got a fear of flying, I'm like, oh yeah. But like, that negative voice trying to come in and try to sabotage things. But I had my checklist that I'd print out in front of me and I thought, what, I'm going to do this and it's going to be fine. And I think just all the adrenaline and the build up, I was quite teary. We had to do a stopover in Sydney on the way to Japan. So on that first flight from Melbourne to Sydney, I was quite anxious and keyed up and I was, a bit teary, but, tried to hold it in for the kids, but I could feel my eyes sort of welling up and just thought, oh, but I think it was more just the build up. And once I'd read all the checklists and we got up into the air, I started to feel myself, calming and took some deep breaths and I think I still ordered that champagne. I've done it most of the flight. Yes. Just the, traditional thing. But I was actually okay. Once I was up there, I had my 3-year-old next to me, so he kind of needed food and activities, and it was more that distraction of doing things for him.
And can you hire him out? Just some people quite like distraction.
Yeah,
that sounds more dodgy than print ups.
But so I think that was a blessing in disguise. And got to Sydney, potted around there for a little bit, got on our next flight, and same thing, got out the checklist again, did all that again, and then was honestly pretty fine for most of it. And we were lucky that it was a very smooth flight. There was like maybe 5 minutes of turbulence when they said to put the seatbelts on, and I was watching a movie at that stage, which I actually found really helpful to have something that I was looking at and fully immersed in. And I think it was Memoirs of a Geisha. So it had the subtitles, I think, at that stage as well, which was good because that sort of took my mind off. I had to sort of concentrate. And I could just sort of feel the turbulence in the background, but I'm like, nah, I'm watching a movie and just sort of went with it. And it was kind of background noise at that stage. I'm like, nah, watching my movie, just turbulence, whatever. And kind of tried to talk myself that it was like non-event, just enjoy your movie. Yep, and that worked for me. So that was really good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
The interesting and you used a word. Excuse me, sir. Sorry, I just need to cough. You used a word about we were very lucky to not have very much turbulence, and I've always thought that's quite a curious phrase. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with that, but whenever I hear that, I think, is that a normal thing for people to say, or is that a sort of a magical thing? I can't work it out. So I'm not passing any judgment. It's just playing that back. Whenever I hear that, I always think,
Well, I think because for a pilot or an air hostess, they probably think, oh, turbulence, like we get that all the time, whatever. But for someone that had like a real, I guess, anxious reaction to turbulence,
yeah,
for me, I was happy that there wasn't a lot, because I guess I actually think I would have been okay after, but yeah, I didn't have to sort of deal with that because there wasn't a lot of it. Yeah.
okay. So what about the trip there? So you're in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Any worries about the return trip while you're there, or were you able to park it?
No, nothing at all. No, just enjoying our holiday. It was amazing. Recommend anyone to go there. There's so much fun. And I was so happy that we went, because I just thought, imagine if you didn't go. Like, imagine if you just didn't go here because of that fear. That would be so sad, and we would have missed out on so many things. We took the kids to Disneyland and Universal Studios, and we got to eat at amazing restaurants and look at shops and, see beautiful sights that we never would have seen. And I guess that goes for anywhere. Like, you have to sort of think, how much are you missing out on? And like, yes, you've got this fear, but it is a fear, and a lot of the times it's an irrational fear. So if you can kind of, try to get through that, you're going to have the most amazing time.
Yeah, I love that. And so anybody's listening who's, because I know some people who raise their kids and never flown with them, and then they beat themselves up. You've still lived, you've still done stuff, you still have life and holidays and all the other great things. You just hasn't involved flying. What I liked about your story is that you've decided that for you to offer what you want to in your life, it does need to, it requires some flying to be able to go to certain places that you couldn't get to otherwise. And that's okay. That's good. So what about the flight back? Because many people dread the flight back, or tend to say it's worse. What was your experience?
I was a bit nervous about that because we took a day flight on the way over, and it seemed very long. And I thought, not that I was particularly worried about it on the way, because I was quite all right, but just the length of it, I thought, oh God, this is a long flight. It was about 10 hours, I think, on the way, and I thought, oh, it's quite long. And so on the way back, we did a night flight just for something different. And we thought, maybe the kids will sleep. Maybe I won't have to think of as many activities for the 3-year-old, and it might be more enjoyable. We thought we'll have one of each, and then hopefully at least one of them will be more enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I was kind of more worried about the night flight, that everyone would sleep. That was my main worry, even more so than the anxiety of the flight itself.
Yeah.
And getting on there, I think as well at night time, sometimes people say they're a bit more scared for some reason. I don't know if I really had that fear. Yeah, I
Why
think
not? What's wrong?
like it is. Yeah, I think it was okay with the night part of it, but yeah, again for me, the kids were a nice distraction. Just more worried about, are they going to sleep or not?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm curious about that, because yes, you've got the extra distraction, but for some people, when they're fearful, the kids can make them worse, because they feel like they can't consolidate their thoughts. But for you, it sounds like a helpful distraction, for want of a word, in case they listen to this. Distraction in a good way.
Yeah.
So I.
Yeah.
But why doesn't the night flights bother you? What's your story around that?
I guess to me, it's exactly the same. I don't know if the flight path's any different. I would assume it's the same. I guess it's like anyone. If you have a fear of dark anywhere, like if you really rationally think about it, it's exactly the same setting. And It's just more your mind thinking for some reason that the dark is scarier for some reason. So yeah, to me, there wasn't anything particular about the night that I would think that would cause an issue. And after listening to, I think there was actually something about that on one of the podcasts about flying at night, flying over the water, and it kind of touched all of those things. So I felt quite confident that I'd sort of covered all bases with the podcast, that if I had thought about those things, they'd been covered. And it was like, yep, not even an issue. This is why it's a non-event. This is why. Yeah, and I just loved all those explanations. So pretty much anything that you could dream up that you were worried about, I felt was covered. And I had listened to a lot of podcasts, so I'd sort of covered all bases, I felt. Yeah.
How many do you reckon you've listened to now? So thank you for that, by the way. I like the rationalizing the dark thing. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. How many have I listened to? Oh gosh. I don't even know. Like, I reckon at least like 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least. Yeah.
Any that you re-listened to, or do you just give them once and that's it?
I gave them once and that was it. Because there was quite a few of them. But I really took something from most, if not all, the episodes. As I said, particularly because I sort of looked through them initially and sort of grabbed onto the ones that seemed like they'd resonate with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just found them so helpful. Like, yeah.
That's
really,
nice
really
to know.
helpful.
Yeah. I mean, it's credit to the guests, really. I think there's gold in all of them. I never say it; we sounds a bit like cheesy, but I think that every single episode, there's somebody says something which you think, oh, that's interesting, or particularly that's why I asked you, what's your process with the night flight and your return flight, because that's a thing for a lot of people, and what we do with our head is the trick. Isn't it? What we tell ourselves about that. So I quite like the way that you've rationalised it. And somebody will find that helpful. But you'll never meet Cazz. You'll never meet.
Yeah.
Someone will listen to yours and go, yeah, Cazz said this. So
yeah.
That was helpful.
Well, that's why I agreed to do this too, because I thought I listened to so many and there was something helpful. So even though I was sort of, anxious about doing this myself, it's not something I normally do, but I thought, imagine if there was like one little thing that kind of someone picked up and they thought, oh, gee, that actually makes me feel a little bit better. That would be so good, because, I was just overwhelmed with how much the podcast and the notes and the Facebook group helped me in such a short amount of time, really. Like it was only sort of about 2 months from start to finish. And so very, very helpful.
Yeah, well, I'm super grateful for you giving you time to do that. So what next for you then? Where are you going next? Are you still working on your fear, or do you think it's done and dusted now? Where are you?
I don't think it's done and dusted. I think there's still going to be obviously that anxiety there for me, but oh my gosh, it's gone down so much. I was actually surprised how good I was on the flight. Like when I took off from Sydney and feeling those anxious thoughts and the tightening in the chest and the tears, and I just like real panic. To even, the second flight, I was already felt so much better. And then the flight home again, already felt so much better. It was just really reassuring. So I think even if you can get on one flight, like even if it's a tiny, tiny little flight somewhere, anywhere, if you can kind of do it and just read those checklist, flight checklist notes on takeoff, and every step you take is sort of a step in the right direction, is sort of corny as that sounds, I guess.
No, that's a mic drop.
Yeah. You're still doing it, you still, doesn't really matter how far you go, but you're still doing it and you've got on there, and I think you can kind of convince yourself then that, look, I've done it, it's fine, and it's sort of not about not being scared. You can be scared and still go ahead and do it anyway, and that's totally fine, but it's just about doing it. It doesn't actually matter if you're scared or not. It's just about doing it. Like that's the main thing, I think.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And where next then?
Yeah. So where do we want to go next? I think we still want to do our America trip. and do Hawaii as well. So
Yeah.
hopefully, maybe I think probably 2 years time for that one. We might stay a bit more local next year, but
How long does it take you to get to to get to Hawaii? How long is that for you?
yeah, I haven't had a look, but I feel like it's about, I don't know if it's 14 hours or something to LA. I'm not sure. I haven't looked it up for a while, but yeah, it's a decent amount of time. So, but we've been looking up already all the rides at the different Disneylands, and we're sort of, yeah, we love our Disneylands and our rides.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, well, that's a good theme to go for, because you could another time you could do Paris, couldn't you? We're ticking them off wherever they are. We'll go.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and it's so exciting to sort of have that thought in your head of, I'm going to have this amazing holiday and these amazing experiences, and just kind of focus on that as well and let that sort of drive you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's such a long way for you to go. 'Cause there was I don't know if you know, we run this Lovefly Lounge, which is like a little mini group, and we meet every week. And we've got 3 people, 2 from New Zealand and 1 from Australia. And Claire from Australia was saying, I'm so jealous of you guys. She says, like, you can go an hour and be in a completely different country, And like, so yeah, I suppose we are quite lucky in the UK. You can just literally, you can get to a lot of places. But to get to Australia is a long way for us. But we do have access to a lot of great things near us, and even the US isn't too far either. So yeah, I think we are lucky like that. Just what it is. Accident of birth. I've no say in it. Well, I hope you get to do the Hawaii bit. That sounds like fun. I've never been myself.
We went there years ago and loved it, so we'd love to take the kids back there. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, Cazz, thank you so much. There's been lots of little tidbits in there, lots of little wisdom moments, and I'm really grateful for you to give your time this evening, your time, and keep doing what you're doing. I think it's great that as well that you're creating memories for your kids by tackling the fear yourself, and by you overcoming it. I know you know this, but the chances of your kids actually developing it's going to be reduced, because they feed off the parents, don't they? So you're getting yourself sorted is the best thing I say you can do. And so well done. Really good.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
You too.